Good evening, friends. We are back again with one more session on Learn Polity through MCQ. So, guys, in today's session, we are going to talk about some more detailed questions about judiciary. So, our first question is the primary purpose of vesting the Supreme Court of India with original jurisdiction. So, basically asking what do we actually mean by original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. So, here criminal appeals, no. Settle disputes between individuals and states, no. Resolve disputes involving the federal units, which means basically involving, it can be a dispute between center and state, between two states, okay, like this. So that is what the original jurisdiction is all about. So that is option C. Resolve dispute involving the federal units. Moving towards the next question, guys, we have which of the following matters can be directly brought before the Supreme Court of India under its original jurisdiction. So guys, is it election disputes of MP? No. Disputes between two states? Yes. So guys, as we have talked earlier, the disputes between two states can directly be brought under the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of India. So option B will be the correct option. Moving towards the next question, guys, we have which of the following best explains the significance of Article 136, that is the special leave petition. So guys, in as far as the special leave petition is concerned, it is the discretionary power, of the Supreme Court whether to accept it or not. Okay, so it grants discretionary power of the Supreme Court, power to the Supreme Court. It provides compulsory appellate jurisdiction? No. It allows appeal only in constitutional matters? No, guys. That is what constitutional appellate jurisdiction is. Okay, so appellate jurisdiction has first provision under constitutional matters, then civil matters, then criminal matters, and last comes the our special leave petition. Okay, so option C is the correct option. Moving towards the next question, guys, the Supreme Court can issue writs for the enforcement of the fundamental rights under. So remember, guys, for the enforcement of the fundamental rights, Supreme Court can issue 5 types of writs. Okay, 5 types of writs under Article 32 of the Indian Constitution. Okay, under Article 32. Okay, other than that, the High Court of India can also issue writs under Article 226, but that is not only for fundamental rights but for legal rights as well. Okay, so Article 32 is the correct option, option A. Moving towards the next question, guys, we have which writ is issued to prevent a court from exceeding its jurisdiction. So guys, when the courts are actually try to exceed their jurisdiction, which means area of function, okay, so under that time we can issue the writ of prohibition in order to prohibit the court from exceeding their jurisdiction. Okay, so option C is the correct option. That is the type of writ. So option C is the correct option. Moving towards the next question, the writ certiorari differs from prohibition because certiorari is issued only by the high courts. Is preventive in nature? No, guys, it is not preventive in nature. Prohibition is preventive in nature. Quashes an already passed orders. So that is when certiorari is issued. Okay, if the order is not being passed, then we can issue prohibition. And if the order has already been passed, then we can issue the writ of certiorari that quashes an already passed order. So the correct option will be option C. Moving towards the next question, guys, we have judges of the Supreme Court are removed through a process involving. So guys, how are the judges of the Supreme Court removed? So simple majority in Parliament, no. Absolute majority of the Lok Sabha, no. Special majority of the Parliament. So guys, special majority, we are removing the judges of the Supreme Court through special majority. Moving towards the next question, guys, we have the power of judicial review enables the Supreme Court. So guys, the power of the judicial review enables the Supreme Court to review its own judgments only. No. Examine constitutional validity of laws. So this is the correct option. So whenever any law is being passed, if it is found unconstitutional by the judiciary, they will strike it down, and that particular process in simple manner is known as judicial review. So examine constitutional validity of laws. Which of the following is outside the jurisdiction of Supreme Court? So guys, which of the following is outside the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court? So dispute between union and state, it is under the original jurisdiction. Enforcement of the fundamental rights, it is under the writ jurisdiction. Advisory opinion to the president is under the advisory jurisdiction. Okay, then comes interstate river disputes. This is not under the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. So the option A will be the correct option. Moving towards the next question, guys, we have the salaries and allowance of the Supreme Court judges are charged on. So guys, it is asking from where the salaries and other allowance of the Supreme Court judges are actually being withdrawn. So guys, remember, it is the Consolidated Fund of India through which we are actually charging the salaries of the individuals, okay, of the Supreme Court, such as judges and Chief Justice and the other judges. Okay, so it will be Consolidated Fund of India. So option A is the correct option. The retirement age of a Supreme Court judge is 65 years. So 65 years is the retirement age for the judges of the Supreme Court. So option C is the correct option. Moving towards the next question, guys, we have here, a person can be appointed as a judge of Supreme Court if he or she has been a High Court judge for at least. So guys, there are certain criteria if you wish to be a judge of the Supreme Court. So the first criteria is he must be a citizen of India. Okay, must be a citizen of India. Then comes, he should be a judge for at least, he or she should be a judge of High Court. Okay, for at least 5 years. Okay, 5 years High Court judge. Okay, then comes the second criteria. Okay, or someone has been an advocate for at least 10 years in High Court. Okay, so if any of the following conditions are being satisfied, then one can be eligible to be the judge of the Supreme Court. So in this case, it will be 5 years. If it was advocate, then it would have been 10 years. Okay, so the correct option will be option A. Option A, a person can be appointed as a judge of the Supreme Court if he or she has been High Court judge for a period of 5 years. Okay, so correct option will be 5 years. Which of the following best describes the role of the Supreme Court in the Indian political system? So remember, guys, in Indian political system, the function of the Supreme Court is to act as the guardian of the Constitution. So Supreme Court acts as a guardian of the Constitution. So option B is the correct option. Option B is the correct option. Moving towards the next question, guys, we have here, which feature best distinguishes the Supreme Court of India from constitutional courts in UK? So guys, it is basically asking the difference between constitutional, difference between court in Supreme Court in India and that of the constitutional courts in UK. So Supreme Court of India is actually having all such powers. Okay, advisory jurisdiction, power of judicial review, appellate jurisdiction, original jurisdiction. However, the power of judicial review is exclusive. If we compare both, the power of judicial review is actually an exclusive power of the Supreme Court of India. So the power of judicial review will be the correct option, option B. Moving towards the next question, guys, we have the Supreme Court's jurisdiction under Article 32 consider a fundamental right, because this jurisdiction is actually being mentioned under Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. So it itself guaranteed under Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. And we all know that Part 3 of the Indian Constitution talks about fundamental right. Okay, from Article 12 to 35, Part 3 talks about fundamental rights of the Indian Constitution. So option C is the correct option. Moving towards the next question, guys, we have, in which of the following correctly explains the term integrated judicial system? So guys, in India, we all know that we have an integrated judicial system. So separate courts for union and state? No. Common hierarchy of courts with the Supreme Court at the top or the apex level? Okay. At the top or the apex level, what we have? We have the Supreme Court of India. Tribunals replacing regular courts? No. Subordinate courts under executive control? No, guys. So moving towards the next question, guys, we have common hierarchy of courts with Supreme Court at top. Which of the following statements best reflects the constitutional position of the Supreme Court of India? It is supreme because Parliament created it. No. It is supreme because it can amend the Constitution. It is supreme because its interpretations are final. It is supreme because it controls the executive. No, guys. So the correct option is it is supreme because its interpretations are final. What does it mean when we say that the Supreme Court can review its own judgment? The Supreme, what do we actually mean when we say the Supreme Court can review its own judgment? The Supreme Court can rehear any case automatically? No. The Supreme Court can change judgments passed by high courts? No. The Supreme Court can reconsider its own decisions, however, on limited grounds. Okay, so that is what known as Supreme Court can review its own judgments. The Supreme Court can nullify constitutional amendments? No, guys. So the correct option will be option C. Moving towards the next question, guys, we have here, which of the following best distinguishes review petition from an appeal? Okay, review is heard by a different court, whereas appeal by the same court? No. Review is a continuation of appeal? No. Review corrects error within the same court. This is the correct option. Review corrects the errors within the same court. However, in case of appeal, if you are not satisfied with a subordinate court, you would reach to the higher courts. Okay, moving towards the next question, guys, and last question of the day, we have the powers of the Supreme Court to review its own judgments strengthens which constitutional principle most? So, guys, parliamentary sovereignty? No. Executive supremacy? No. Federal autonomy? No. However, judicial accountability is the concept. Okay, is the principle which is being strengthened if by the Supreme Court's reviewal of its own judgment. So, guys, option B is the correct option, judicial accountability. So, guys, this was all for today. In tomorrow's class, we are going to come up with more such questions. Till then, stay connected with Edufy.